today I'm really going to talk to you and focus on the portrayal of women in advertising. So today's lecture is based off of the documentary called Killing Us Softly. Has anyone seen it in other classes? And you've seen it? So basically this documentary was created by Jean Hilborn, and she takes really critical studies and feminist perspective of how women are portrayed in advertising. And throughout her work, she's really advocating the importance of media literacy. So remember this term, we're going to come back to it at the end. So jot it down like that. Media literacy. And Jean's also been studying tobacco, alcohol advertising, a lot of different things, but her series of documentaries called Killing Us Softly, Part 1 through 4, it all focuses on how women are really portrayed in the media. So I'm going to show you a quick clip of this documentary, but I want you to think of a few things while you're watching it. So think about how many advertisements you think and you see and hear a day. So give me a number. How many do you think you see and hear a day? Anybody shout out? 20? 100? 1,000? Okay. Well, we'll see what she says at the end. But think about whether advertising really influences the products that you buy, how it shapes our understanding of femininity and masculinity, and just overall how it plays a role in how we act in our own lives. So let's take a quick look at the documentary.
Sometimes people say to me, "You've been talking about this for 40 years. Have things gotten any better?" And actually, I have to say, really, they've gotten worse. Ads sell more than products. They sell values, they sell images, they sell concepts of love and sexuality, of success, and perhaps most important, of normalcy. To a great extent, they tell us who we are and who we should be. Well, what does advertising tell us about women? It tells us, as it always has, that what's most important is how we look. So the first thing the advertisers do is surround us with the image of ideal female beauty. Women learn from a very early age that we must spend enormous amounts of time, energy, and above all money striving to achieve this look and feeling ashamed and guilty when we fail. And failure is inevitable because the ideal is based on absolute flawlessness. She never has any lines or wrinkles. She certainly has no scars or blemishes. Indeed, she has no pores. And the most important aspect of this flawlessness is that it cannot be achieved. No one looks like this, including her. And this is the truth. No one looks like this. The supermodel Cindy Crawford once said, "I wish I looked like Cindy Crawford." She doesn't. She couldn't, because this is a look that's been created for years through airbrushing and cosmetics, but these days it's done through the magic of computer retouching. Keira Knightley is given a bigger bust. Jessica Alba is made smaller. Kelly Clarkson, well, this isn't interesting. It says slim down your way, but she in fact slimmed down the Photoshop way. You almost never see a photograph of a woman considered beautiful that hasn't been photoshopped. We all grow up in a culture in which women's bodies are constantly turned into things, into objects. Here she's become the bottle of Michelob. In this ad, she becomes part of a video game. And this is everywhere, in all kinds of advertising. Women's bodies turned into things, into objects. Now, of course, this affects female self-esteem. It also does something even more insidious. It creates a climate in which there's widespread violence against women. I'm not at all saying that an ad like this directly causes violence. It's not that simple. But turning a human being into a thing is almost always the first step toward justifying violence against that person. We see this with racism. We see it with homophobia. We see it with terrorism. It's always the same process. The person is dehumanized, and violence then becomes inevitable. And that step is already and constantly taken with women. Women's bodies are dismembered in ads, hacked apart. Just one part of the body is focused upon, which of course is the most dehumanizing thing you could do to someone. Everywhere we look, women's bodies turned into things and often just parts of things. And girls are getting the message these days so young that they need to be impossibly beautiful, hot, sexy, extremely thin, and they also get the message that they're going to fail, that there's no way to really achieve it. Girls tend to feel fine about themselves when they're 8, 9, 10 years old, but they hit adolescence and they hit a wall. And certainly part of this wall is this terrible emphasis on physical perfection. So no wonder we have an epidemic of eating disorders in our country and increasingly throughout the world. I've been talking about this for a very long time, and I keep thinking that the models can't get any thinner, but they do. They get thinner and thinner and thinner. This is Anna Carolina Reston, who died a year ago of anorexia, weighing 88 pounds, and at the time she was still modeling. So the models literally cannot get any thinner. So Photoshop is brought to the rescue. There are exceptions, however. Kate Winslet has been outspoken about her refusal to allow Hollywood to dictate her weight. When British GQ magazine published this photograph of Winslet, which was digitally enhanced to make her look dramatically thinner, she issued a statement that the alterations were made without her consent. And she said, "I don't look like that, and more importantly, I don't desire to look like that. I can tell you that they've reduced the size of my legs by about a third." Bless her heart. So what can we do about all of this? Well, the first step is to become aware, to pay attention, and to recognize that this affects all of us. These are public health problems that I'm talking about. The obsession with thinness is a public health problem. The tyranny of the ideal image of beauty, violence against women. These are all public health problems that affect us all. And public health problems can only be solved by changing the environment.
So obviously we can't show you the whole thing, but we're going to go through the key points that she does talk about. So she starts off, we're going to talk about the objectification of women, how this ties into violence against women. Then we're going to transition into how these ideal images of beauty affect body image, sexuality, and finally how men play into this formula as well. So to start off, advertising objectification. So like she said, this is when a woman's body becomes part of an object or thing. In our society, there's a lot of focus on parts of women's bodies, like you saw in the ad we saw earlier. In fact, in our society, breasts are used to sell everything. Here, breasts are used to sell a fragrance for men, Tom Ford. Or in this ad for Wonder Bra, I can't cook, who cares? Or this one, Go Big or Go Home for Anna and Eli, the gamers. This is obviously for a video game, and it definitely catches your attention. Look how small the product placement is. And again, objectification. This woman's body has become part of the beer bottle. And it's, cut off and everything like that. It's objectified. Okay, so why does this matter? Well, according to Jean Kilbourne, it matters because this leads to violence against women. Turning a human into a thing is the first step in justifying violence against them. And like she said in the documentary, this is called dehumanization. It's used to justify violence in instances of racism, homophobia, terrorism. And we're totally surrounded by these images all the time. We see images of women in bondage, being attacked, in these rape scenes. They're all in advertisements and we think nothing of it. So for example, this ad for Mac shoes. So this woman is objectified. Why? Because her body has become part of the object or thing. So here she's not only in bondage, but she's become part of the shoe. Or how about this ad for Dolce & Gabbana? Obviously this ad is very offensive to women. This woman is being held down by a man. They're looking at her like she's a piece of meat. Looks almost like a gang rape scene. But again, it's an ad for Dolce & Gabbana for high fashion. So to transition, so she talks about how this objectification ties into violence against women, but she also really focuses on body image. So we have these ideal images of beauty that do not exist. Now why don't they exist? Because they're the product of Photoshop. So all these ads that we're seeing everywhere are telling us that ideal beauty is being young, being thin, having blue eyes and blonde hair. This is the ideal image of beauty. But the problem with this is these images don't exist. So you're setting up women to try to look like something that doesn't exist. So we're setting them up to fail. Okay, so one good company that did a really great job of showing this is Dove. Has anyone seen the Dove commercial? You guys have? Okay, well, I'm going to show it really quick anyways. This is part of their Real Beauty campaign, and they really reveal the truth behind Photoshop and these images that we're surrounded with all the time. what do you guys think of that? Yeah.
Have you seen their Inner Beauty commercials? The ones where they like are drawn or whatever?
No,
They're
I
pretty
haven't.
cool. That's actually,
really good.
yeah, they're really awesome.
It's okay, we'll check that out.
Yeah,
What
the
do you guys-
parody's pretty
What
funny.
do you guys think of this? I mean, it's insane, right? I mean, so the model doesn't even look like the model, doesn't even look like yourself. I mean, look how much Photoshop goes into just that one billboard. So again, Dove did this really amazing thing with their Real Beauty campaign. The campaign started a global conversation about the need for a wider definition of beauty after the study proved the hypothesis that the definition of beauty had become limiting and unattainable. Only 2% of women around the world would describe themselves as beautiful. Only 2%. I mean, that's pretty bad. So, since 2004, Dove has employed various communications vehicles to challenge beauty stereotypes and invite women to join a discussion about beauty. So according to Jean Kilbourne, we as a society are a big part of this problem. We're a part of the whole distorted images and ideologies of beauty. And you may ask why. Well, think about popular culture. How often have you guys picked up a magazine and the cover of it is about some celebrity getting fat? Has anyone seen that? We're always mocking people gaining weight, getting fat, and this is contributing to a huge epidemic of eating disorders. So a study found that girls exposed to sexualized images from a young age are more prone to 3 of the most common mental health problems of girls and women, including depression, eating disorders, and low self-esteem. So when a young girl picks up this magazine of Us Weekly, and they see Kim Kardashian, and she's pregnant, and we're calling her fat, says, don't call me fat, we're tearing her to pieces, so she gains so much weight, and the poor girl is pregnant, so you're supposed to gain weight, right? So, or they compare her to a whale. This is pretty bad, right? So a young girl, or even a girl of any age, is picking this up and saying, wow, this is not okay, I can't look like that, especially when I'm pregnant. Better starve myself when I'm pregnant too.
Yeah, she shouldn't have worn the outfit though.
Let's be honest. Well, her fashion taste is a different story, but it doesn't mean we should, compare her to a whale and
Like
say
somebody should have told her, like before leaving the house.
no. So that's a different issue.
Okay.
Okay, so we're saying that that's not okay, but then we're accepting images like this. This is a high fashion model, her bones are protruding, she's just skin and bones, she probably has multiple eating disorders, and we're accepting this as an ideal image of beauty because she's young, thin, blonde, and blue-eyed.
Is that in the United States, or where is this model like?
This is just an ad, I think this is the United States, it's just a high fashion ad that I magazine. So we're saying this is okay to model, and this is the type of girls that are in the industry. This is okay, but being a little bit chubby when you get pregnant is not. So again, this is all negative messages that we're getting as a society. So as a result, we're lowering the self-esteem of young girls and women. What we're also doing is we're raising men's expectations of what women should look like. Because they look at these advertisements and these billboards and they say, wow, that girl's so hot, this is the ideal image of beauty. Then they look around at the women around them and they say, how come you don't look like that? And why don't they look like that? Because those images don't exist. These are the products of Photoshop, and we're just setting women up to buy these products and try to look a certain way like these ads of these women that don't exist, okay? So when you think about it, how many people ever see an ad with a woman eating? Just like a normal person eating.
Not normal.
Okay, I'm getting to that. So that's a different story. So if you do see an ad of a woman eating, it's usually portrayed as a very erotic, forbidden, kind of sexualized experience. And of course, the company that comes to mind is Carl's Jr. Ads. So they started it with Paris Hilton. We all remember her commercial. And then they made Salad Sexy with Kim Kardashian. And then they continued on with Kate Upton.
I got a fever, inflammation, that's what I got. You turn the heat on me, something like that. Call out the engine, ring up the station, I'm on the spot.
Southwest patty melt with jalapenos, pepper jack cheese, and spicy Santa Fe sauce.
Love burns you up the most, like it on
The classic just got a whole lot hotter.
baby, I like it hot.
The Southwest patty melt. New at Carl's Jr. and Hardee's.
everyone's paying attention now. So what we're seeing is these images that were traditionally reserved for pornography are very commonplace in ads. And we have a very pornographic attitude towards sex, and again, we've all heard the saying, sex is used to sell everything. So here, this is an ad. This is a real ad for Burger King. Sexual innuendo that's present. It will blow your mind away. It's not bad. It's a real ad. Or here, it's a little bit subtler message, but what are you getting from this? We're saying that the way to have sex with a woman or to get sex from a woman is by bribing her with products, in this case, diamonds. So again, we're getting this message that sex is the only thing that matters, and we're also getting the message that sex is only reserved for the young and the beautiful, because the people in these ads, again, are those ideal images of beauty. So we're making people feel less desirable, and advertisers have taken it one step further. Now they're making people desire the products more than actual partners. So look at this ad for BMW, the ultimate attraction. Okay, so this guy is more into the ad with BMW than his partner. Okay, what about men? So we talked about objectification of women, we talked about how it leads to violence against them, we talked about the eating disorders, sexuality, all of this, but we kind of left out men. Now, why does Jean Kilbourne do that? Well, according to her, she thinks that men are treated very differently in ads. So they're not as routinely scrutinized in society based on their looks as are women. So when you think of the way that a woman is portrayed in an ad and a man is portrayed in an ad, it's very different. So you see men pictured in ads with strength and dignity, they look powerful, but women's body language is very different. They look passive and vulnerable and often scared. So let's compare. So here's an ad on the upper left corner, we have Gillette. Precise, smooth, and powerful. Okay, very macho-looking man. Again, men are back. This is an ad for alcohol. Again, looks like strength, strong, tough guys, all these like positive messages about men. But then you see this ad for Gucci. Look at the body language between the man and the woman. What could you guys tell me about that? Anna, go ahead. What do you think about this?
I just think she's on her knees. Like, come on, that's like
She's
pretty
literally,
blatant. Like,
so you see
she's literally crawling on the ground. Like.
She looks scared, she looks passive, her body language is hunched over, she's literally at the man's knees, but the man is standing above her, looking strong and powerful, his hips are thrust forward. So this is an ad for Gucci. How does this sell clothing? Why does the positioning of these people need to be like this? Does it have to be like this? Can they be standing next to each other like two normal people, both looking powerful and strong in the Gucci clothing?
If anything, the dress kind of looks like hell because she's hunched over and crawling. I wouldn't buy
It's
that.
it's not
flattering.
No, it's not flattering at all. But again, you're getting the idea now about how women and men are pictured very differently in ads. Okay, so why does this all matter? Why am I even talking to you guys about this? It's because advertising is a huge industry. It's a $250 billion a year industry in the US. And the average American is exposed. Remember, I asked you guys, how many ads do you think you see here a day? Was anyone's number close to 3,000?
Mine was 8,000.
8,000. Close, and I guess close. So 3,000 ads every single day that we're being bombarded with in magazines, on billboards, all around us. And this is important because they're not just selling us products. They're telling us who we should be. They're selling us values. What does it mean to be feminine? What does it mean to be masculine? We're getting these messages from these ads that are all around us. So as a result, advertisers are profiting off of us feeling terrible about ourselves. And this brings about those public health issues, those eating disorders we talked about, the obsession with thinness, violence against women. So, how can you help? So this all sounds really negative, I know that, but the whole reason I'm talking to you guys about this is because you guys are the people who can make a difference. And it's very simple. You guys remember that term media literacy in the beginning slide? Yep. So media literacy, so what you have to do is you have to transform yourself from a passive recipient of these messages, of these ads, into an active recipient. So when you see these images around, you have to ask yourself, who created this message? What is the purpose of this message? Who is it targeted towards? Who benefits and who loses? So by doing this, becoming an active audience member, not just accepting the messages as they come at you, actually critically thinking about them. Maybe we can change the norms in society, so we'll see less ads like this, and maybe more ads like this, where the scale reads beautiful. So if you guys are interested in this, Here's a great textbook. It's a critical studies perspective on, images of women and, all different types of sexuality in the media. And this again was based off of Jean Picklehorn's documentary, Killing Us Softly. If you guys want to run it and check it out, it's really interesting. So that's all I have for you guys today. I'll turn it back over to the rest of you.
Well, very good.